Hello and welcome to the Surveyor podcast with James Baker and Jon Lever. Two chartered surveyors embarking upon a social media journey, locked in a virtual room with nothing better to do than to discuss everything surveying. And some things not.
Hi everyone, welcome to the next episode of the Surveyor podcast. We've got some special guests with us today, and I'm going to hand over to Jon because I'm going to let him do the intros this time.
Oh, superb. Thanks ever so much, James. As always, throw me in at the deep end. Wasn't expecting that. Just before turning the recording on, I did say, James, you intro this one. So, as always, he's thrown me in there. So, yes, so today, fantastic opportunity. We are well chuffed with the two people that we have with us. We've got Natasha and Daniel. Now this is, Natasha, thank you ever so much because you are acting on what we said. Hey, guys, get in touch with us and let us know if you want to kind of jump on board with one of our podcasts. However, I think I probably stuck you in it there, Natasha, didn't I? Because you contacted me and said, hey, I know this really great guy you should talk to, which is Daniel. And then I said, yeah, well, why don't you come along as well? Then you went, oh. And it's just like, always going to happen. It's always going to happen. So let's kick off to start with. I think it would be really useful if we asked you both to introduce yourselves, education journey to date, current status in RICS. You know, how have you got to where you are in your sort of surveying journey? So, because I think Natasha, you're still on APC route, aren't you? And Daniel, you're a chartered member, as obviously James and I are as well. So, who should we go first? Let's go with Daniel first. So, how did you get there, basically?
So for me, Jon, it was a case of I started off my surveying career in 2007 with the City of London. I started like a 5-year apprenticeship with them. So I was attending uni 1 day a week and really enjoyed it. Went through various different departments within the City of London whilst still learning, which was good. After that, I kind of then thought, right, I graduated now and I'm going to crack on with my APC. It never happened. So that was in 2012. And I got married instead. And
that's quite important.
Always said I would want to do it, but life just got ahead and never really got around to it. And I think it was when my boss at the time, he said, you know, what are you doing with your APC now, mate? Get on with it. And that was what I needed to get started. And I started to sort of progress with it. I got diagnosed with cancer in 2015. So I kind of put a massive damper on the APC. But got through that, returned to work and sat my APC in 2017. You know,
and here you are.
Yeah.
Excellent. Oh no, that's good. So it's interesting sort of journey for you, and I'm sure we'll talk a little bit more about that in a moment. So Natasha, how have you got to where you are at the moment with your surveying?
So I also was working at the city with Dan, and I was working in the finance department and kind of came to a crossroads where I sort of thought, I don't think this is what I want to do. I'd always been interested in surveying. A couple of my colleagues are in the surveying department and I'd always been really interested in what they were doing. And there was sort of a reshuffle and somebody had been promoted and just basically came to me and said, I've heard that you're interested. What do you think about doing a secondment? So I thought, fantastic, did a secondment and basically thought, it's going to come to an end. But actually, he then said to me, do you want to stay? Do you want to do a master's? And I'd already done a business degree. So I thought, why not? So I did my master's, and then as soon as I finished my master's, I enrolled in the APC. So, and here we are. And what sort of work happens in city? Because you're both different pathways, aren't you? So, Daniel, building surveying, aren't you?
That's right. Yeah.
Well, we won't hold that against you, so that's fine. And Natasha, you're if I haven't got it wrong, it's commercial property, isn't it, or commercial real estate, as they call it now?
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. So what does City do then? What does the is it like the square mile in the city, or what?
It is, yeah. So we have a portfolio of. Firstly, we have different funds, and we within each fund we have different portfolios. I think my portfolio we've got like 64 properties. And so from my side of it, I'm like valuations, lease renewals, rent reviews, bit of property management, and from Dan's side, it would be anything going wrong in the building. It goes to them.
Yeah. Okay. So sort of more is it maintenance or is it refurb, new build as well, or?
So it was mainly refurbishments. So it was them from sort of your commercial offices, but also when I was there, they also had like open spaces, like buildings out in Heathrow, the North London, Parliament Hill. So some really nice, interesting kind of bits and pieces to get you traveling around the city. Good.
Oh, sounds interesting, and a great platform, I guess, for APC experience then as well. In that case, if you've got a nice varied sort of range of projects and things. So I'm very aware James hasn't said anything for a moment, so I'm going to let him ask the next question or prompt the next.
Thanks, John. Thanks. I mean, it doesn't normally stop you just taking over and not allowing me to speak, but thank you. Okay, so Natasha, next question for you then. You obviously contacted us directly and said that we need to speak to Dan, as he'd been an inspiration and a mentor to you on your surveying journey. So can you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. So I met Dan at work probably 10, 11 years ago now. And he's always been a really sort of happy, friendly, smiley kind of face. That smile that he has right now is never too far from his face. And we became friends via work, always chatting about football. And then Dan obviously told me about the cancer diagnosis, and obviously it sort of was very hard for all of us because obviously we wanted to support Dan and his family and everything. But despite his predicament and the circumstances that he was in, he was always really upbeat and positive, and he was always asking how I was doing, what was going on with me, and not just me, but all the people around us. And you would never have known what was actually going on in his life. He's always been really positive, and he genuinely wants to know what's going on with everyone else. And I think I mentioned before, in 2015, I was at a bit of a crossroads of my career. And I'd lost my mum a few years before that. And although I sort of felt like, I need to take every opportunity, life's too short, I sort of struggle a bit with my confidence. And so Dan's generally the person that I speak to for that sort of push that I sometimes need. And I spoke to him, and despite everything that he was going through, he was still really positive and pushed me towards going for the opportunity and reminding me, life's too short, and this is all coming from someone who was going through what he was going through. And he never once spoke about how upset he was or what he was going through in his life. It was all, you can do this, do this. So I just find him really inspirational, and throughout the whole thing, that smile, it was never far from his face, and I just find him really inspiring. And sometimes I find it really silly that I talk to him about how I'm feeling when he was going through something so much worse. But yeah, he's just always really inspiring, and I felt that other people in my sort of, I'm going through the APC scenario, would really like to hear from someone who's been through it in the hardest of circumstances.
Yeah, that's really interesting, isn't it? And Dan, I was going to say, Natasha kindly gave us the link, the video link, because you've been linked with, it's Stand Up for Cancer, isn't it? Which
right, yeah.
And I have to say, as I've kind of mentioned before, I'm a bit of a closet baker, so I'm quite enjoying it. I don't know if you've watched any of the episodes, but my favourite one is currently was it James McAvoy? I think his name's pronounced, the celeb who's in films and stuff. He seems to be a bit of a dark horse. Every so often, it looks like he's doing a really duff job, and then he presents this wonderful cake or something. So I have been watching that, and it's been really interesting to sort of see that. Obviously, the television, Channel 4 and everything have got all behind it all. So how did you manage to, obviously, it's interesting to hear the story that you have. How did you get involved in that? Did they come and find you, or did someone kind of dob you into Channel 4 and you ended up on TV with them? And what was it all about?
Yes, I think it was really bizarre actually, because I think when I was going through my treatment, you have a lot of time when you're not doing work, and so I kind of joined a load of sort of social media pages and started following, just to kind of see what they're all about, really, because I was learning about the cancer as it was happening to us. And I would read people's stories and comment on their posts and like it and share it where I could. And there was an opportunity to sort of share your story, and I thought, oh, I'm not going to be too bothered. So I just wrote a little piece about where I was at that moment in time, and they did contact me. A bit like this actually. I was really surprised. I was really surprised, and I just sort of said, I got interviewed. Someone just called me up just to sort of take a few details, and didn't really think it would go anywhere from there. Because for me, it was just more to sort of share how it affected me, something I hadn't even thought that would come into my life. I didn't think it was till I was much older these things would happen to you. And that's how it kind of happened. And then since then, what they did is they sort of included me in different posts on their social media pages. Just little captions and quotations. So nothing really but just to share a story, a positive. And that was the whole idea, to sort of share something positive about you can have cancer, but the outlook isn't always bleak, which is what I thought when I first got told about it. And a couple of posts later, got a call by the person who normally contacts me for these things, and just said, how do you fancy being on a small little section on Channel 4? So and then the whole Bake Off thing came about, and here we are.
Yeah, I mean, I watched the clip, and it's you and your wife, but also with other families as well, and I thought it was really, really lovely the way it was done as well, because it was about the very positives and the things that sort of make your other half laugh at you and what winds them up and everything. And I'm sure we'll come on to that in a moment. But no, that sounds really interesting. So and I'm guessing with the treatments that you had with the chemotherapy, you probably had to, well, not only the time of having to sit there with the treatment, but also probably the side effects that comes from it, because I understand a little bit about it, but I'm no expert on it, but I'm assuming you had a bit of time on your hands as well to sort of look into those sort of things. So no, really interesting. And what was it like being filmed by Channel 4?
It was really bizarre actually. I didn't really know what to expect. So, you go through all the questions, what should I wear? And then Susan's sort of like saying, no, don't wear that. And, do I, where do we tidy up the house? Where they're going to film? And this was all sort of during the pandemic as well. So They had a lot of stringent protocols that they had to put in place. So we had to sort of make our home feel like outside. So it was freezing cold, but we had to have all the windows open, doors open, and social distancing.
Because I was going to ask you if it was at home or if they had dragged you off to a set somewhere, and they dressed just this little box, and you had to.
That's it. Yeah, that's right. So temperatures taken on the day before and the morning of. There's a risk assessments to sign off and forms to sign. But after that, it was cameraman and director sort of came in, set it all up. There was like thousands of pounds worth of sort of filming equipment, in our little lounge area. So behind the camera, there was our kitchen was just full of it basically. I was half expecting like a little makeup crew as well.
So you didn't get makeup done. So
no, I was a bit disappointed with that. No, nothing like that. So and then it was probably, even though it's such a short film, they spent quite a bit of time with us, asking loads of questions, and you just want it to be really organic and natural. So that was a bit of a weight off our mind as well.
Yeah, and it certainly did come across as that. It was like I said, it was lovely to watch, and it was quite funny in places as well. So no, that's cool. Okay, cool. James, over to you.
Thanks, John. Didn't think I was going to get a word in.
Easy.
Can I just say though, Dan, you do have quite an infectious smile.
I know.
It's a great smile, by the way. So just moving on to the cancer then. So you diagnosed, you said, in 2015. Now I'm lucky enough that I've never had to go through it. I've had family members go through it. But I'm interested in just finding out, because I know it's pretty rough. It's the treatment's pretty harsh. Just how what motivated you, how you got through it.
Yeah, I think that was quite. I think I learned as I went along. Really, I think as Tash, really kindly pointed out, I think I have got quite a positive outlook on life, and and I just tried to take each day as it came. That helped a lot. So you can go into this hole of really worrying about what the potential outcome might be. So it really helped me to maybe I suppose understand, first of all, that if you just take it day by day, treatment by treatment, just get to that next stage. Don't try and think too far ahead, because and I think the motivation probably came from as well my wife. She's like, she's just so amazing, so supportive, and I think just trying to keep that going each time was just a kind of a joint effort all the time. So when I was low, she really helped me out, and then sometimes she wouldn't be too great either, and then I'd try and help out in that sense. And then we had great family, great support, great friends around, and yeah, you just take it day by day. It's probably the only thing you could do, in those sorts of some circumstances. And I tried just not to let it sort of define me, so I didn't let it lead me. I tried to, where I could, be ahead of it if possible. I didn't know what havoc it was wreaking on my body at the time, but when I had my good days, I just made sure I enjoyed it, did something a little bit fun, and yeah, just tried to make them laugh if I could.
Just an interesting thought that's come from that. I mean, that was 2015, 16, probably into 2017 a little bit, as it went on a while. Have things that you've learned from that experience helped you out in the last 12 months, I guess?
Yeah, it's true, actually. I guess one thing that Susan and I do often say is that, look at what we've been through. But obviously it's very unique to different people as well, so very, very understanding of that. Just because you've been able to handle something a certain way doesn't mean it's the same across the board. But yeah, the last 12 months has probably made me appreciate more family and friends, because you're getting more time to spend. Well, I say family if they live with you, not if they're outside your home, but just more time to just shout people, make contact, communicate, those sorts of things, where work has got its place, but you also don't have that, constant to and fro from the office as well. So it's helped in that regard as well, and just making sure everything's in its right place. That's quite important.
No, that's interesting. And also, you mentioned in the article that came with the video on the link. I think what we'll do, James, we'll post the link on survepod.com as well. Yeah. Because I think it'd be good for other people to go and watch it as well. And yeah, I'm sorry to hear the story about your uncle too, who was diagnosed with cancer, but then unfortunately and sadly passed away. Now, I've had experience of it, not myself, but for parents in my family, and it's amazing that the speed that it can just whip these people away from you. You must have found that really hard at the time, I suppose, because you're dealing with it as well. And then someone else close to you, I'm assuming your uncle was quite close, but close to you, was also, but unfortunately wasn't able to beat it, as it were.
No, it did have an impact, because I think your mindset makes a big difference when you're going through things like this. So I found that I responded worse to chemo treatment when I was feeling quite down and depressed about things. And so that definitely did I did struggle through that. But again, I just think about, perhaps there was always someone in a little bit of a worse situation than I was, especially when you go to receive your treatment. There's people who aren't responded to chemo and those sorts of things, and you're sitting right next to them. And because you're there for a couple of hours, you get to know them, you get to talk to them. Maybe this is their third time round of the cancer returning, and sometimes you just kind of have to look and see, wow, even though this is tough, that's tougher, so you just kind of balance it out a little bit, and it does help you find perspective on matters as well sometimes.
No, definitely. James, I'm going to go with the next one as well, I'm afraid.
That's fine. You do that.
And obviously, this is just something very close to James and as we found out now, Natasha's heart, which is football, which I have absolutely no interest in whatsoever. But I thought I'd throw it in anyway. So you said that is Barnet a kind of lifetime team you've supported, or is it a small sort of amateur team that you play with? Or tell us a little bit about your football team, basically.
Yeah, sure. Basically, it's just a bunch of brothers and friends, basically, that I've known for quite a long, for ages, basically. And we play at Barnet. So I do support a team in North London, the Red team, and it just be that's the venue that we play at. So prior to treatment, we play pretty much every Friday. More so before I was married as well, but
is it proper football or five-a-side or what?
Just five-a-side, No, it's not.
I have to say, I did try playing it once, but I stopped playing when I ran into. We used to do it in the gym. I ran into the wall and I had my hand in front of me and I cracked 3 ribs. So at that point, I thought, I ain't doing this anymore. And everyone just kept pushing. I just didn't like it. I'm just such a wuss. I really should have played rugby or something, and I never did. Given the size I am, I'm about 6 foot tall, 6'1" tall, 6'1" wide, and I could have been quite a good blocker. But there we go, never got into it. So I was really, again, I thought the story was lovely that you mentioned that you at the end of your chemotherapy, you actually played a match with them as well. So that must have been a real milestone for you.
Yeah, it was huge, and to this day I still remember it. I still don't know whether or not they let me score. I'm kind of the mind that my skill and my prowess never left me, and I was able to
go with that, Dan. Go with that.
Yeah, I'll go with that, James. I'll go with that. And it was just a really emotional time. I wouldn't really classify myself as an emotional person, but I think the love that that I received when they celebrated with me. I'll never forget that, because it was massive, because when you maybe think, well, maybe I might not have played ever again, so, and to be with my family and friends that way, it was remarkable.
Cool. Oh, that's good. Brilliant. Over to you, James.
Yeah, brilliant. I'm a big football fan, so but sadly my team aren't as good as the one you support, so we'll move on swiftly.
What is yours?
What's my team? I'm Derby fan. So.
Oh, okay. At least you're not a Liverpool fan. That's fine.
Well, to be fair, again, considerably better than my team. But at the rate we're going, we might be playing at a lower level next season. So we'll see. We'll see. At least Wayne Rooney's at my football club, so there's always a positive to take from it. Anyway, we'll move swiftly on before we bore people in football, or bore John anyway. Start snoring, because I've heard him snoring. He's quite loud. So, in addition to what we've kind of already been through, then, what sort of support did you get from your colleagues and things? And did you get any support, or did you have any involvement with Lionheart?
I didn't have so much involved. Actually, I did. Lionheart really helped me out when I was trying to get back, on my APC. So I just called them up, sort of told them my circumstances, and they gave me kind of like a route forward and some contacts that I could reach within, the sort of training facility when it comes to the APC. So that was really, really handy, because I had started, a project on my case study, and sort of like at just a few weeks into the construction phase is when I had to go off. So I was really gutted that, perhaps that I'd have to sort of redo it or try and find another case study, and that was something that weighed on my mind. But they're really, really supportive in that sense. And with regards to colleagues, so Natasha and her husband Jason, they were fantastic in welcoming me back, to the office after just over a year off, because it kind of felt like I had to relearn surveying, and coming back into the office was quite a strange. It was quite strange, coming back after a year and not seen anyone, for such a long time. And they're really good with just kind of catching up with me at the tea point. Sometimes we'd often, go to lunch. Had a really good boss as well. He's really supportive, my boss at the time, and my colleagues as well within my team. They really helped me through it, because they had also embarked on their APC, because we were all planning to do it together. But they went and done theirs, passed it, and they kind of supported me through. I was about 6 months behind them when I finally took mine, and they challenged me in mock interviews, chucked questions at me, basically didn't feel sorry for me, which I didn't want anyway, but yeah, they really did help out, and some really lovely senior members of the team, and just, like I said, Jason and Tash, really played a massive part in, my integration back into work. They did, for sure.
Yeah, that must have been quite weird having so long off. I mean, I was on furlough last year for 3 months, and that was I'd never had so much time in my life, but obviously that wasn't due to illness or anything, but it was ever so strange then to go back to work afterwards. So having a year off must have been quite a strange feeling to suddenly go back into work. Did you pick up your APC immediately, or was it generally find your feet back in the job again first?
It's a good question, James. I think I tried to kind of maybe run before I could walk with it, because my colleagues were actually taking it in session 1. I thought, oh yeah, I can try and jump on that as well, because whilst I was off, I was still trying to keep myself sharp and up to date. But yeah, I think it was a stretch too soon, to be honest with you. And but it was good because I had colleagues that were doing it. It just meant that I was in the environment, that I could sort of jump on it and continue to kind of follow in their footsteps with what they were trialing and studying.
And I absolutely appreciate the fact they gave you a hard time. I think that's very important.
That is very important when you do your APC.
Just got to keep at it. So I'm going to go with the next one. So I again, watching the video of you and your wife, I love the comments you put in there actually, and the comments you made about you losing everything and not knowing where it is, and I've often said to James, I just think that's a bloke thing. I don't know where. Constantly I'm asking my wife where I've put my car keys or my wallet. Or where the kids are, or what, something going on like that. But she also mentioned you're a bit of a practical joker, so I'm intrigued. She mentioned about you turning all the clocks back or something, which was a fantastic one, and I wouldn't dare do that, by the way. But yeah, what other practical jokes have you gotten yourself into?
Yeah, I think what it is, John. I think I'm the oldest of two. I've got 2 younger brothers. So it was very much a theme in our family, So I don't try to play too many tricks on Susan, but I do like a good laugh. I think laughter is really important, in life. So it can just depend, really. I think I can be a little bit mischievous sometimes.
What's your latest one? Come on, spill the beans. As long as it can be told, of course. It needs to be keep it professional. Isn't it?
My latest one. I don't know. I tell you, probably one of my favorite ones.
Go with a favorite. That's good.
Yeah, my favorite ones is a lot younger, and I tricked my younger brother into thinking we'd been burgled. So I basically ransacked his room and sort of unscrewed curtains off window frames and flipped his bed around and sort of hid upstairs and disconnected the phone. And he's come back from school, thought he got burgled, tried to ring Dad, couldn't get through on the phone. I rang down in some tights over my head and scared the living daylights out of him. So not overly proud of that now.
What happened when your mum and dad got home then? That's probably off. How big was the hike that you got?
Yeah, off interview, and I don't think my younger brother has forgiven me since. So yeah.
Oh, there's still time for him to get you back then.
Definitely. I'm always a bit wary every time I turn the corner. If sometimes I don't take burglary seriously anymore. It's a joke. Yeah.
Oh, fantastic. So Natasha, obviously when you first contacted us, like you say, you wanted to speak to Dan, and what a great idea that was, and talk about his life and journey so far, and it's been an inspiration to you. However, I remember coming back to you going, yeah, okay, but why don't you come along and tell us a little bit about what you've been up to as well? Because I felt, there was plenty you could add into the mix, and obviously you mentioned about the APC, from your perspective, feeling quite a lonely experience, and absolutely understand that. I mean, both James and I have sat it a while ago now, but it's one of those sort of things. I don't think it ever leaves you. Do you think, James? I mean, again, Dan, will the experience of the APC ever leave you? I don't think it has. I mean, I'm 26 years old in the APC world, so yeah, it hasn't left me. So how did you kind of work through that, and feeling sort of the lonely side of things, or sort of from a mental health perspective? Tell us a little bit about how you've dealt with that.
Well, so as I say, I enrolled in July 2018, pretty much the day after I graduated from my master's. The organisation that I work at, there isn't a graduate programme. And most of the people who work alongside me have been part of some sort of graduate programme, and it all sounds so wonderful when they say someone comes in and they tell you this is what you need to learn, and everyone sort of does it together. But from my point of view, I'm the only one who's doing my APC in my sort of department, and I don't work with that many people outside of the organisation who are also doing their APC. So I've tended to sort of lean on people like Dan, who have recently done theirs. And I think part of my problem is that I put too much pressure on myself. So I wanted to do my APC last year, but then I moved, and I want to do it and pass. I don't want to do it just to say that I've done it, and then
very wise.
I'm not really ready, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So yeah, sometimes I'm too much in my head and I overthink things quite a lot. So I think something that Dan sort of said as well, it was sort of just take a step back and think about where you see yourself in 5-10 years. How do you see yourself getting there? And anytime I have a bit of a wobble, and I'll speak with Dan or my husband or my dad, friends, their advice has been take some time away from the APC. And so like on Wednesdays, great plug for your Wednesday workout. On Wednesdays between 12 and 2, my diary is completely blocked, and that's my time I spend with you on Wednesdays.
Yeah.
And other evenings, those are the times that I spend finalising bits and pieces, and it's important to take time away from your APC, because obviously for me it's intertwined with work. So, and now that we're at home and I'm working from home, it's really hard to switch off. Sometimes I find myself working from 7:30 until 7:30, and that's I don't get paid for that. I don't need to be working those hours, but sometimes I find it really hard to switch off, and so I sort of try to recharge my batteries. I like baking, I like gardening, I like reading, so try and set time for those things that I also enjoy, because I want to enjoy the APC. I want to in however many years remember, this is the day that I took it and this is how it went. And actually, from listening to your podcast and going to your weekly workouts, I heard about Sam.
Yeah.
Listen to your last podcast.
I'm glad you said Sammy. That's brilliant. We've been ribbing him about that relentlessly. I'm sure he'll listen to this as well. Hi, Sam.
I'm sorry, Sam. He'll kick me out of the group now.
Yeah. He's now. You now have to call him Sammy Nick.
Okay, fine. I'll remember that. So I'm sure Sammy Nick will throw me out of the APC study group. But joining the study group and sort of meeting like-minded people who are thinking the same way as you, and putting themselves in that environment, I found it really helpful, and actually it sort of made me feel a bit more confident, because I do struggle with confidence quite a lot, but actually it makes me feel like, what, I'm not the only one who's doing it. I'm not the only one who's doing it sort of on their own. And I'm very lucky that I have colleagues who are really supportive, and people like Dan, who is no longer a colleague but now just a great friend. So now I'm getting there, and I want to submit for the next submission.
Awesome. So
but
I think that's fantastic. I mean, I think you're right. I think too often everyone puts the pressure on themselves. Oh, I've got to do it in 24 months. No, that's a minimum, and we're absolutely, on the same page there. It's you have to do it to pass. You're not just going to go and have a go. You don't want to do this more than once.
No.
And unfortunately, I mean, statistically, 35% of people get referred. And you just think, and that's a big number as well. We're talking probably 450 people every 6 months, something of that sort of number, because about 1,200 or so go forward. So yeah, I mean, it just seems madness to try it without. And can I just say, you suffer from confidence, Natasha. What are you doing here with us today? You're doing a cracking. If anything, then this is great therapy for you and great help to kind of boost that. And just to say, it's fantastic that one, you reached out, which is a confident move, and two, you're here with us talking about your own experiences, which I mean, it's taken James. I will let you into a secret here. It's taken him months to get over the fact that he's on a podcast with me. And a real crisis of confidence for him all the way through. So, but no, I think you're doing really well, and I'm delighted to hear. You got your head screwed on. Absolutely, you're approaching it in exactly the right way. I mean. Not that we always talk about me, but I'm going to talk about me. But yeah, I've spent 19 years running a business where I've run around the country, around the world, travelled everywhere. And the last year, I've had to stay in one place with my family. And thankfully, my kids are still young enough that I've not missed that. So it's been a really interesting sort of moment to kind of say, hold on a minute, running your own business is never easy, but it's you need to take stock and pause for a moment. And it's only in recent times I'm learning the lessons of you need to kind of look after yourself, and you need to give yourself a bit of time, because otherwise it'll just disappear. And my kids are now 13 and 15, and they've grown up quicker than I can blink. So it's kind of it's what your parents always say, and it's however much it annoys me, I'm saying the same things. So, but no, that's really great to hear. James, are you going to go for the next one?
Yeah, I mean, before that, I was just going to say, you wise words, Natasha. To be honest, and I think it is important that you try and take some time out, because it is completely associated with work, and I think we all have probably found it. In my career, I've worked at home and had a job at home, but was able to kind of separate that in a certain way. But over the last year, I've probably found that more difficult, if I'm completely honest. And then since I started my own business, I certainly have found that more difficult to separate home and work. But yeah, completely, you've got to take time off. You've got to listen to your own body and what you need to do. And you won't make as much progress if you don't take that time out. That's something that I certainly learned when I did my APC. It's 13 years since I did mine, but I remember it vividly. I really do. It was.
That's kind of scary. That's half of the time that it was since I did mine, because mine was 26 years ago, and I can still remember it vividly as well. But also, to add into this, James, don't you think this podcast is us taking a bit of time out and away of stuff as well, because we're just doing it for fun?
Yeah, it is complete. Actually, as I've been sat there since I took 4 days off at Easter, which is the first sort of any period I had off for quite a few months, really. And it was much needed. And I started working again on Tuesday, and already straight into it, working late last night and working early this morning and through. And I thought to myself, looking forward to doing the podcast, one, because I get to meet you two, but actually also because it's just a bit of time out and I can just have a chat and a bit of a laugh. And it is kind of just that little break. I'll probably do some more work later, but it's just, part of taking time out, to be honest.
I noticed you didn't say it was because you look forward to meeting with me either. So
I see you quite really, to be honest, John. I probably see you more now than when we were doing various RSS things together, to be honest.
That's very true, yeah. No. That is very true. So, okay, over to you, James, for the next one.
Okay. So back to you then, Dan. Is there anything else that you can tell us about Stand Up to Cancer and your involvement with Bake Off? I'm assuming that you didn't get to meet any celebs, but did you?
I didn't. No, I didn't. I only just got a chance to sort of like introduce them before they took them the main stage. But no, I haven't really had any involvement with Bake Off. But I might apply the next time it comes around.
Sounds good, yeah. So what's your baking kind of price then? Because Natasha, I'm going to come to you in a minute because you're baking stuff as well. So what do you do good in the kitchen?
Tash or
no, you
yeah, I'm not fantastic, and seeing as this is recorded, I will not profess to be fantastic in the kitchen. But yeah, I can make a decent Madeira sponge cake.
Oh, very good. Oh, sponge cake. Yeah, sponge is good.
Yeah.
My wife swears that you can never whisk it too much.
Okay, I'll take that on board.
Who knows? Who knows? And Natasha, what baking do you get up to then?
Oh, cakes mostly, to be honest.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. I'm into bread because I'm this half of me is Swiss, and Swiss bread is absolutely awesome. So I'm into making my bread at the moment. I tried hot cross buns the other day, and they were like rocks. So I've not managed to master that one yet. And my children did point that out to me, going, "Yeah, they look nice, Dad, but I ain't eating them." So it's like, "Oh, okay, thanks for that." So, but yeah, the other thing was actually, I guess, to add into James's question as well, is there anything that we can do with the Surveyor podcast, to raise awareness? Are you kind of supporting any sort of cancer charities or anything like that?
So where I can, I think just kind of on a social media stage, just kind of raising awareness. I think something that stood out, during my ordeal, because it hadn't really affected me before, and I was quite, I suppose, didn't know a lot about cancer, to be honest with you. I kind of immediately thought it's immediately bad news. But just raising a bit more awareness, I think, I'm old enough to remember when it was 1 in 3 of us. Now it's 1 in 2. So you can really see it starting to touch more and more people's lives. So just more awareness where possible, and also especially amongst now when we're spending more time at home with our families, just kind of enjoying that time, as best as we can.
So wise words. And what's the next thing? Where should we go, James? Because I think that
well, let me just
you go with something. Yeah,
I'm going to address the elephant in the room, because I obviously have a surname of Baker, and I didn't partake in that certain conversation because.
And honest, I didn't want to go there. I didn't want to take the mick out.
I mean, I'm going to hold my hands up.
I'm sensitive about that.
I'm not much of a baker, to be honest. My wife bakes with my son, but I don't bake. I have baked in the past, but it's not. To be honest, I enjoy cooking. So I'm more of I'd rather get involved.
More of an eater rather than a cooker.
Yeah, I'd rather just get involved. Well, no, I like cooking, but actual, not the sweet stuff, more savoury type stuff. So I tend to do that rather than baking, which is a bit.
So what's your favourite dish then? What's your masterpiece?
I've got. There's loads, but I mean, I just enjoy cooking. I like trying new stuff. I guess if I was to say my favourite to cook and my one that I spend a lot of time over, particularly, is a Sunday roast, and I'll spend a lot of time preparing the meat.
Sunday roast.
I'm doing that. I spend a lot of time prepping, regardless of the meat. My wife, we at Easter we had lamb, and my wife referred to me as I don't know whether you're Gavin and Stacey fans or anybody listening is Gavin and Stacey fans, but the episode where Mick spends a lot of time taking care of the turkey, well, she compared me to that with the lamb at over Easter. So yeah, I spent quite a lot of time preparing it the day before, and then in the cooking process the following day I did slow cooked lamb, and it was beautiful. So I was pretty pleased with my efforts. But yeah, that's why I didn't partake, because I'm not a baker, despite my name.
Well, when the pandemic's lifted, I know I live 2 hours away from you, James, but I'll come over for Sunday lunch.
Oh, you can do.
Sounds definitely just me though. I'm not bringing my family.
Oh yeah, no, I don't want them here.
Yeah. Well, I think as we kind of bring things to a close in a way, it's always nice for us to ask you guys. Firstly, is there anything else that you want to kind of throw in there? And thanks, Natasha, for your comments about the ABC Roadshow and about Sam's group, and all of that support is fantastic, and really, I'm delighted it's having an impact. Let's put it that way, because it was done for that reason. But is there anything else you guys want to add in before I ask you our crystal ball gazing question? Nothing at all? No? Anything
No.
I'll throw something in, because seeing as this is sort of like aimed at everyone that's embarking on some sort of journey on their APC, but yeah, just to sort of get going on it, so regardless of whether you're finding it's a bit overwhelming, try and reach out, get some support. I know you both, Jon, you offer quite a bit of support and training on that respect. So yeah, just sort of try and chuck yourself in there and you'll get there in the end for sure.
Yeah. I think that's the thing as well, isn't it? The road does have an end to it, and it's just just taking your time to get there. So okay, so as we always ask all of our guests, and we kind of throw in other weird questions along the way, but I think this is quite a nice one. As you gaze into our surveyor crystal ball, what do you think the next 6, 12 months, maybe 5 years have in store for you? What's your thoughts? I mean, everyone's thinking, oh, pandemic, what we're going to do, and we get to go to a pub. But when is it? When do the pubs open? Not that I really pay much attention.
Monday.
Is it Monday? So everyone's excited about this, and everything, and not taking sort of meeting together for granted. I wonder how long before we all become complacent about it again, and whatever. But what's I'll go with Natasha first. What do you think's in your crystal ball for the next few months and 12 months or so?
Wish I had thought about this a bit more now.
I can go to Dan if you want to come back to you. If you want.
It's okay, don't worry. Okay, so obviously immediately for me it's going to be APC, obviously.
Yeah.
Outside of work, I've just moved, my husband and I, so hopefully just doing a bit more in the house. And then I think once I've done my APC and I'm fully chartered, have MRSCS after the end of my name, I think I'd like to give back a bit how sort of Dan has for me, and sort of become a mentor. People who are going through their APC maybe feeling the same way that I have during this process. I think just wait and see what opportunities and doors may open for me over the next 5 years or so.
Yeah, cool. And rest assured, your name is on my tick list of coming back and telling people about your experience.
Oh no!
You can be one of our past candidates. Come along to the HC Roadshow and tell them all about.
I do find those really useful, actually.
They are good, aren't they? I mean,
yeah.
5 questions, just different people, and it's always really interesting to see and hear their feedback. And funnily enough, everyone goes, "You just got to practice and work hard." Which is exactly what we tell everyone. So it's nice for other people to tell you as well. So okay, same question for you then, Dan. Where do you think? What's your aspirations?
Aspirations wise, John, I think having this whole year to really reflect a little bit on life. I think one of the things that has come up a lot is starting something up on your own. Like you both were talking about your own businesses. Is something that has really intrigued me. So I've started along that line, starting to sort of develop a little bit of a kind of a strategy and a plan to sort of take, at the moment, one-man band, just seeing how we go. So maybe just trying to maybe not completely, but maybe pull away a little bit from the 9 to 5 and seeing if I can grow something, myself. So that's something that I definitely think lockdown has really prompted, in my mind. And another thing I think I'll be doing is trying to get another professional membership. So I already have MAPM, and I've also, as of last week, submitted for my MCIOB. So yeah, I'll have to sort of see how they progress. And I think same with Natasha. I think I'm always there to sort of, if I can see anyone who needs help with anything, try and help in that respect. Yeah. Oh
no, that sounds really interesting. I mean, James is a mere babe in business terms. I've been doing it 20 years this year, and people say, "Oh, would you ever do it again?" It must be a nightmare. I would do it again, heartbeat. It's been brilliant.
Wow.
So it's been really good. I mean, if you go down that route, come back and have a chat, because I'm still keep hassling James to tell us about and do a podcast on setting my own business up, and these were the trials and tribulations that I experienced along the way, sort of thing, because I think that's quite.
I'll tell you, John, it's been a breeze.
Oh, okay. In that case, it's obviously just me.
Which is not true. I'm 6 months in, and it hasn't been a breeze, and it's hard work. But what I would say is that don't regret it for a moment, and I'd do it all over again. But and it's an exciting journey, I think, to just take something and try and set yourself goals and targets and try and meet those and develop something. I spend a lot of time working with Jon training APC candidates. I have done for a decade or more now, and it's great to be able to do that. And I kind of want to use my own business to kind of do I do use my own business to support Jon in that, but hopefully bring some graduates and some apprentices and things through my business to try and do that, and to inspire some, young surveyors or potential surveyors.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
Sounds fantastic.
I mean, that's a really interesting point. I mean, I often steal the line from was it the Brad Pitt movie, Fury, best job ever. This is my best job ever. I know people pay me to support them, but at the end of the day, you still have the nerves for them, and it's whenever you get that phone call or the email going, "I passed, thanks ever so much," that's the best thing ever. And you've been able to have that small sort of engagement with them, and that small opportunity to help them in their career. I don't for one moment see it anything more than that, because unfortunately you still have to go and sit the assessment. I'm not going to do it for you. I've done it once and never ever want to do it again. So that's been one of my joys over the 20 years that we've been doing it. So but this year I think we're kind of talking and thinking about setting up a sort of a charity. It's October is our 20 years old point, but we'd like to raise, was it £20,000 or something over the next 12 months, so that we can kind of feed into charities, Lionheart, things like that. So make some use of it, and of the sort of the notoriety, I'll call it, that we've managed to build over the years of who we are. So, but no, that's been great. I mean, thank you ever so much again to both of you. It's been an absolute joy. And Dan, it's been great to hear your story, but definitely come back and, like I say, if you're starting up a business or fancy doing that in the future, come back and tell us about it. And Natasha, you can come back and tell us about your APC experience another time as well. But is there any last things you guys want to add? I mean, James has hardly said anything. I don't really know why he's here, but maybe we ought to give him the last
unusual
word.
there, John.
So anything else you guys want to add in? No? Okay, well, James, I'm going to let you finish then. You ought to finish really now.
Thanks, John. You let me speak finally, right at the end. Yeah, it's been great to meet you both. Lovely to hear your stories, your individual stories. It's one of the things why we started this, was to find out more about the person behind the surveyor, if you like, which was something that I said to John quite early on. It's just nice we're technical beings, generally speaking, as surveyors. It's nice just to get that human element and that human story out there. So lovely to meet you both and hear all about it. And as John says, and Dan, if you got any, you want to get in touch and you want any hints or tips on starting up a business, feel free. It's pretty fresh for me. I've just done it. And no doubt, Natasha, I'll see you on road shows or on when I do. I've promised good old Sammy Nick that I'll attend one of his.
Yeah, we both said that, and we still have. We said to actually this a thought. Let's throw this one out there. We actually said to Sam that we ought to come along and do the podcast with the group that do his group thing, and I think we might just do that, because then that will guarantee that we'll actually turn up. But yeah, Sam's been enlightening as well. He's been great. So and he's kind of involved with us now, really, with the podcast as well. So it's all good things have come from this so far. So we've been delighted. So, and in our ultimate fashion, James, have closed our podcast. Obviously, wash your face, wash your hands, and
don't lick any strangers.
Don't lick any strangers. Certainly not at the current time. So, thank you again to you both. It's been an absolute blast, and we've really enjoyed it. So, Natasha, thank you for thinking this up, and Dan, thanks for playing along with it and going with it, and it's great to see you both, and we wish you all the best in the future as well. So, fantastic. Cheers, guys. Take care.
Take care.
Bye.
Hello there, and thank you for joining us for our latest episode of the SurveYOUR podcast. We hope you enjoyed listening to it as much as we enjoyed making it. Don't forget to subscribe at all your favourite podcast providers: Apple, Google, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and so on. Also on Twitter and Instagram at SurvPod, that's SurvPod. You can also get us on YouTube. Click the subscribe button, and don't forget to click the little bell. It tells you when we post our latest content, and on our webpage, survepod.com. Don't forget to leave us your reviews, comments, suggestions, and of course any questions. And finally, if you want to come along, join us at a future episode of the SurveYOUR podcast, send us an email to survepod@gmail.com. If you like what you see and hear, tell your friends. Let's put surveying on the map. Stay safe, wash your hands, and don't lick any strangers. Bye-bye for now. The SurveYOUR podcast is a copyright Deliver and Invise Limited production. We suggest you come up with your own ideas and not copy ours. Thank you. Catch you again soon. Bye-bye.